Well, I can tell you straight out that, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I got the Magician's Dictionary right in front of me at this moment, and 999 actually is the number of the end of the world, according to magicians. But anyway, go on.
Well, I also wanted to comment on what he said about Roseanne Barr, because she gave an interview with Larry King where she was talking about Project Paperclip, where the Americans brought the Nazi scientists over after World War II, and she was talking about having a chip implant for mind control. And of course, Larry King acted like, "Oh, come on, Roseanne, you're crazy, right?" But I'm sure he knew about it.
Oh, Larry King is so dirty. He is so dirty. I mean, I watched them when I posted my Anna Nicole Brittany article. I watched them bring every single person I had on that article out on the Larry King show, and it was as if they were using my article to backtrack every mistake they had made, all of the things that I had proven. Larry King is by far dirty, and you can see him in my video of Anna Nicole Brittany and Mind Control talking to Bill Clinton about being president and working for the corporation long before he was ever president. Yes, absolutely. But go on, Tina. Sorry.
Oh, no, that was just my point, that they, the people in the media will make everyone think it's crazy, there's nothing to it, it's a hoax. And yet, with the Beatles, for example, there are all of these hidden messages, there are all these clues.
There definitely. What do you think about Paul not wearing shoes on the Abbey Road?
Well, I don't buy his argument that it was because it was a hot day, because you live in Austin, and you know how hot the pavement gets. Would you be walking across the street? He said he'd been wearing sandals, and it was 2 hot door sandals across the street. You're going to walk on what, broken glass and cigarette butts. It's not convincing to me.
I'll buy it.
So was that a clue? Probably. I think everything. There's so many clues.
There were a lot. Now, what do you think about them wanting to give us these clues?
Well, see, I think that the focus on the clues is actually a disinfo tactic to keep us from looking at the physical evidence, because the clues are open to interpretation. It doesn't definitively say, "Oh, Paul was replaced because the Paul walrus was Paul." I mean, what does that mean? It's open to interpretation. But when you start looking at the forensic evidence, then you get into some real. So I think it's just misdirection. Personally, that's why I don't spend too much time on all the clues.
Right.
But I do think there's a purpose, because the Illuminati lets you know what's going on in hidden messages.
Oh, I totally agree with you there. They absolutely, and it seems to be kind of the spiritual barrier that they have to fight through, that they have to get us to agree or to come about of our own free will.
Mhm.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that.
So they get people to voluntarily do things, like you mentioned the swine flu vaccines earlier. Well, they want people to take them voluntarily, and if that doesn't work, then maybe they'll try something like mandating them.
Or maybe they'll get Marilyn Manson out there to sing, "Get your H1N1 vaccine, get your H1N1 vaccine." Right?
We should watch for that and see if that happens.
Well, we still have Kevin, Frank, Brian, and Ryan hanging on the lines here, but there's only a minute left in this segment, so I hate to start the call, but let's go ahead and get Kevin on the line and see what his question is so you can think about it over the break.
Okay.
Kevin, Minnesota, what's going down?
Hey, Freeman. Absolutely wonderful show. Thank you so much, Tina. I have been one of those people that also believe, with the evidence, if you take the time to look at it, that Paul was a clone. And I think even back down to the president of Grant's day, they were using clones for the presidency. The Saddam Hussein thing, if you look at the difference between the person they hanged and the dentistry of the person who was the leader, absolute different person. Even Saddam Hussein's wife was screaming that it was an imposter.
We all know it's true. I'm sorry to cut you off there, Kevin, but we're on the break. We'll pick it up on the other side. Tune in to Radio Freeman every Tuesday night at 6 p.m. Central on RevereRadio.network. RevereRadio.net. You can link there from FreemanTV.com, and I do have a whole new podcast ready and raring to go. It is very simply RadioFreeman.com. get all of my shows podcast. That's shows that I've been a guest on or my own personal shows. You can get that all at radiofreeman.com or just link there from freemantv.com. No problem at all. I do have a couple of shows coming up. On the 30th, I will be on the Warrior Society show at 7 p.m. Central. That's September 30th, this coming Wednesday. And then on the 2nd, I believe it is, yes, the 2nd of October, I'll be on the After Dark radio program. And I'm certain I'll show up on NutriMedical Report again next week sometime to discuss the nefarious dealings of Walt Disney, I think is where we were going there. So always an interesting time. Be sure to tune in. Lots of stuff. I've got hours and hours and hours of stuff for you guys to listen to. You'll never get bored, I promise. So Kevin, questions, comments for Tina?
Yeah, the last things that I wanted to bring up, and then with the question, is that the MK Ultra behavior modification subcommittee reports biological and chemical testing involving human subjects by the Department of Defense, 1977. It all goes through all of this behavior modification and MK Ultra procedures that the government and the CIA and the Department of Defense were doing on people. The last thing that I wanted to ask you, Tina, is I just totally lost it there. There's like a million things I want to ask you, Tina. What is the best way to get a hold of you, and can we contact you through your website?
Absolutely. You can contact me through my blog, Plastic Macca, M-A-C-C-A, Paul is Dead, and my email is falconandsnowjob@hotmail.com.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Freeman, for having Tina on, and good luck and great show as always. Take care.
Thank you very much, Kevin. All right, let's jump to Frank, since we'll try and rapidly go through these in this last 10 minutes. Frank in Wisconsin, what's on your mind?
Yeah, I remember last year you said something about October 13th or something.
That's right.
But this year seems pretty interesting. Yeah, so I was wondering if it might have been some more stuff going on this year, October, because I've heard a lot about a vaccine coming out that may be highly contagious. It may be the virus itself or worse. And they're saying there's possible forced vaccinations coming if it gets worse, where students might not go to schools and doctors might get mandatory orders to use the vaccine, and everybody might need to eventually get vaccinated or go to a concentration camp. You know, and they're saying something about a bracelet with an RFID chip to identify those who have been vaccinated. And there's also a lot going on in Iran with a nuclear facility being discovered in that was secretly it's a huge facility, and they're saying that there might be a response from Israel.
Okay, well, let me jump to a couple of responses to that. Now, first of all, just to tie this into our pop icon ideas, I did predict that we would go to a war with Iran for the very reason that they had Iran's flag painted on Anna Nicole's face, and they showed it in the courtroom. If you want to see more about that, go to the Anna Nicole Brittany mind control story. She was painted with the flag of Iran. You know, this is a ritual that these Illuminati masters use. They promote it, as Tina was saying. And I don't know what to think about this H1. I'm not sure what to think about the H1N1 pandemic, and definitely doctors standing up against the idea of vaccinations. I may have just recovered from the swine flu. I honestly don't know. But it was mild. It was very mild. So there's no reason for this type of freak out. I wonder if it's hype, if it's just fear. I don't know, honestly. But I wouldn't take the vaccine. Well, I'm sorry, Frank. I got to let you go.
I would be